mountains of Uttar Pradesh in India, aid workers say something exciting is happening in the fight against modern-day slavery.
CNN's Ravi Agrawal introduces us to Schools for Freedom, an innovative program ushering hundreds of former child slaves into freedom through education.
Meet Sitara. She just loves to dance. At schoolyard games, she more than holds her own. In the classroom, she's a top student. Sitara is Hindi for star. It's fitting. She's a shining success story of a group called Schools for Freedom. This is a school of boys and girls who are singing, reciting poetry, enjoying themselves, and you can feel that they have rich futures ahead of them. When you speak to them, though, you learn that some of them are hiding dark pasts that no child and no family should ever have to go through. Just 1 year ago, Sitara was working at a brick kiln like this one. It was dusty, unforgiving work, she says. It was bonded debt labor. But let's call it what it really is, slavery. And it's prevalent across these parts of Uttar Pradesh, an Indian state with 200 million people. Sitara's parents were enslaved there too. They haven't forgotten that their own daughter was sucked into bonded labor to help pay back their debts. They used to beat me at the brick kiln, Sitara says. She hated her life then. Here's Chamela, Sitara's mom. She isn't sure how old her daughter is, 13, she reckons. Sitara thinks she's 15. Time blurs out here. Chamela tears up when she recalls watching her daughter being beaten. What can you do when you're in debt, she says. A big part of the solution here is awareness and education. And that's a battle being led by people like Peggy Callahan. She's the co-founder of Voices for Freedom, which runs and sponsors Schools for Freedom. How important are these schools for villages like this?
They're all important. They're all important because the parents will risk everything to try to get their kids educated. So they will move forward, even when they're afraid of the slaveholder, even when the slaveholder is threatening them, they have the courage to do what it takes to help free themselves and to get their kids educated. And because the bottom line, education is the greatest vaccination against slavery all over the world, and it is working miracles here.
The miracle isn't complete. At the village we visited, Callahan says 84 people have found a way out of bonded labor. A few dozen are still trapped. One of the people still enslaved is Papu. He's just 12. We're not showing his face. We don't want him to get into trouble for talking to us. Here, Papu tells me the masters at the brick kiln come and beat him if he skips a day at work. He shows me his fingers. They're almost sandpapered by brick. He has cuts, calluses. When he walks, his bare feet betray the scars of his life. But they haven't broken his spirit. Papu tells me he sneaks in an hour a day at the classroom. Sometimes, when the other kids line up to wash their hands, he joins in. The children get free hot lunches at the school. It's a marvel to see these kids fight the odds and still smile. At night, Papu practices the alphabet in dim light. He dreams of being a teacher someday. And here's Sitara again, cooking for the family. She knows her parents need to work late. Every day is hard in this village. Even when they're free, there are a million reasons for these children to just give up, to despair. And yet, the school is an example for Sitara. The Sitaras are an example for the Papus. This is what freedom looks like. This is what can be. Ravi Agrawal, CNN, in rural Uttar Pradesh, India.
And anti-slavery activist and filmmaker Peggy Callahan, who is also the co-founder of Schools for Freedom, joins us now. A powerful story watching Ravi's piece there. I mean, he's talking to a 12-year-old there. How many kids are enslaved like this? And at what age do they become enslaved?
That's a great question. There isn't really a breakout of the number of children who are enslaved in debt bondage slavery in that particular way. There is a number, though, for all of India. And in India, there are about 18 million people enslaved. And when it happens in debt bondage slavery, you know, kids are taken with their parents to work because their parents are enslaved. And often the children are only 2, 3, 4 years old when they start molding the bricks in this case. And as they get a little bit older, they carry the bricks and then they put the bricks into the kiln, which is, of course, quite dangerous work. And it's backbreaking work. And all the time they're doing that, they're not going to school.
Why is it such a pronounced problem in India?
Well, there's a confluence of things. There's a rule of law that's not great, though getting better. There's a great population explosion, and there are people who are willing to take advantage of that. And there's a cultural bent. Even the people who are enslaved often don't know they're enslaved at first. They think they just took a loan and they're supposed to keep working forever until it's paid back, but of course it's never paid back.
It becomes their life. I'm curious, is there any improvement that you're seeing in India, and let's use that as an example, and is there, I don't know, a willingness to deal with the issue on an official or governmental level?
You know, it has really changed in the last 18 years. Now, I cannot speak for every part of India, but I can speak for where we have been working for the last 18 years. At one point, for instance, when we were going to do rescues, the police were actually a part of the problem. That is not really the case. We haven't been experiencing that for quite a while now, because we also work with the Labor Department, with police, with all kinds of elected officials, and help educate them about their laws so that they are better able to enforce their own laws.
Well, let's talk about the Schools for Freedom. It's a fascinating approach. I mean, you know, abolition through education. Why has it been so effective, do you think?
I think it happens on a few levels, and they're all really exciting to us. First, parents have a lot of courage to choose freedom, right? But because it's difficult, they don't know anything about that. They haven't lived that before. So anytime you give up what you know, that can be difficult. And you're willing to do it if you can help your kids. So we come in and say, well, we can help your kids get educated. And parents the world over will do anything to help their children and get an education, right? Because they know that will break the cycle. They know they won't be as exploited in the future. So that while their kids are learning to read and write and arithmetic and their rights, the parents are also being worked with frontline workers to help them organize, to help them learn the truth, to help them know this is illegal, so that when they stand up together, they can win. If only one of them stands up, they're probably going to die. So this works because it approaches the whole community at one time.
Yeah, I think to a lot of people it can seem strange that you have a school comprised of former slaves and students who are still stuck in bondage. How hard to control the urge not to just swoop in and rescue everyone?
Well, you know what? Helicoptering in, swooping in, it does not work. It doesn't. If it did, we'd do that. But the truth is, people have to take the chain around their brain off, because they have to learn that this isn't right and that they can do different. And they have to be given the tools, because we always say, we don't actually free anyone, they free themselves. What we do is walk with them to freedom and help them learn the skills that they need. And those schools, they're just a Trojan horse that carry all the tools that people need. And it turns out, when people free themselves, one of the first things they do is turn around and help other people come to freedom. And that's the sign of great work, right? When you're no longer there, people are still coming to freedom.
Remarkable work, a remarkable team. Kudos to you and everyone that you're working with. Peggy Callahan, their co-founder of Schools for Freedom. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.